Today, my guest is former LA TV News co-anchor and author Kelly Lange, and we're going to be talking to her about her career as the first woman news anchor in Los Angeles and Emmy winner, who, according to TV Guide, was the first local newscaster to be paid $1 million a year. We'll talk to her about that, whether that's true, and that her career began in the 70s, continuing through the 90s, and then she started a second career when she began writing fiction and mysteries, partly to relieve insomnia. That's a good way to relieve insomnia. And soon she became a full-time and popular mystery novelist. She's going to be a guest speaker at the Palm Springs Women in Film and Television Luncheon this month, and I'll have all the details on that. And I'm chatting with her in New Orleans, where she is staying for a while. So, Kelly, welcome to the show.
My pleasure, Jacqueline. Thank you.
Kelly, first of all, tell us why you're in New Orleans. Is just a vacation, or are you researching a book, or both?
Well, both. You know, it's always both. Life is research when you're writing books.
Isn't that the
we're
truth?
Here in New Orleans is divine. Oh, you know, and there's such spirit here. Everybody is wonderful and so lovely to talk to. And then you say, were you hit by Katrina? And then you hear the stories, So I just admire their spirit, and I love the heritage and the culture here. It's just so much fun.
Well, it is. And let's talk a little bit more about the mood there these days, because you mentioned Katrina, and then, of course, there was the downturn of the economy, and then finally the BP oil spill. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Did you hear any personal stories, or are they hiding it under the wonderful personalities and music and good humor of New Orleans?
Well, they do have the wonderful personalities and good humor here in New Orleans, but I am amazed, Jacqueline, at the deep down spirit of get up and go and pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get on with it, because you don't hear anything about it, but until you ask. I'm a still an investigative reporter at heart, and I can't help ask almost everywhere, and then you hear it, and there's a sadness, and yet that spirit of, we've got this licked, and they're working hard. Everywhere in the streets, you're still going to see the backhoes and the big machinery, finishing and rebuilding the infrastructure. But New Orleans is a city of great spirit.
And they're very resilient.
Great humor, by the way.
Yeah.
Great humor besides that resilience.
Yes.
They can laugh. I can't tell you how many times we heard, oh, yes, I'd say, well, were you hit by Katrina? Were you hit by the BP oil spill? And I can't tell you how many times we heard, oh, yes, we lost everything, darling, And it makes you think, and it makes you realize we are so lucky every day of our lives to be on this good earth and just, have a good time.
Well,
muddle through, as it were.
Yeah, and that does seem to be part of their history. Did you get into that area that was the most devastated, that we all know, of course, from television pictures and so forth? Did you travel down in there and take a look at things?
The Ninth Ward. We did a little walking around there, and as I said, there's a lot of rebuilding.
So you do see something going on there, though. Something is happening. It's not just sitting there.
It's been 5 years since Katrina.
Yes.
And then, of course, with the downturn in the economy anyway, and with the oil spill that threatened the Gulf fisheries, these people have been beleaguered. We went to the museum yesterday of Fine Arts, hiked out to City Park, because they have an incredible exhibit of photographs after Katrina. And they're not just photographs of damage, they're really inside and personal photographs of people's homes, where you see written on the outside of these houses that are all battered and beaten in with spray paint saying 3 bodies here.
I don't think I'll ever forget that.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. But the city on the whole is full of music and history and good cheer and, God knows, alcohol And
Well, yeah. Well,
and so life goes on.
Kelly, let's talk about something fun that's coming up. You're going to be guest speaker at the Palm Springs Women in Film and Television Luncheon on next Saturday, October 16th. That begins at 11 a.m., and it's at the Renaissance Hotel in Palm Springs, which is at 888 Tahquitz Canyon. That's just west of Tahquitz and Caballero in Palm Springs. And I do want to say that reservations are required. So anyone listening that's interested in going or getting more information can call the office at 760-238-0306. Now, the cost for the luncheon for members is $35. Non-members is $50. But you get a great luncheon, and you're going to hear Kelly Lange. So now, Kelly, I want to give a little tidbit to those listening that are thinking about going and encourage them to go and ask, are you going to be sharing some inside stories that we may not have heard before at this luncheon?
Yes. As a matter of fact, well, there are a lot of thinly veiled characters in my books that you would recognize if you watch Channel 4 News.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about your books, too, later on.
Yeah. But yes, there are always those stories, and they're a lot of fun. And Jacqueline, I will do, at the drop of a hat, I will run down to Palm Springs anytime I'm invited. You people are in God's country. You know that, don't you?
Well, we are. Well, yeah, especially now that it's starting to cool off. It's still wonderful in the summer and very pretty, but I was thinking yesterday, driving through the valley, it was cool, the sky was clear and white clouds, and I thought, now this is really heaven. So it's very true.
Oh, it's beautiful. And come on by. Jacqueline, I know you will, but everybody else, come on by, have a nosh, and let's chat. And I'll have my books there, too.
Oh, very definitely. Very definitely. I look forward to it. Now, Kelly, I'm told you have quite a sense of humor.
Sure.
Did that help you in your work as the first woman news anchor?
Oh, it has to. It has to. I think it helps you in life. You've got to get the cosmic joke.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there are stories after stories. Because, quite frankly, having been the first, all my colleagues, my coworkers, who turned out to be very, very close friends of mine, they didn't want a woman there, and I'm talking about the men. They didn't. They had it all nailed down, and they really wanted to keep it that way.
Sure.
We women, you, me, and all of us, we've had to really, punch our way through that old glass ceiling.
You're right.
And we have, and we've done that. And now when you watch the news, local news, anywhere in the world, really, you're going to see men and women doing it. It's almost 50-50.
It is, but we still hear stories. I mean, it still goes on, but hopefully not as much. Well, I want to ask.
That's human nature, I guess.
Oh, sure, of course it is. Petty jealousies and whatever you want to call it. But thank goodness you opened the door for that.
Thank you.
I want to ask a couple of questions about your experiences during that period of time. And I'm sure you can answer this in a variety of ways, but can you nail down maybe what was the toughest assignment that you had in that capacity?
Not really, because none of it was easy. It's interesting that people think that we show up and they hand us a script and we go into makeup and get cute and we read the script and that's it and we go home. No.
I think a lot of us know that's not the case. But
well, it's a little bit different now, too. The news has changed. But back in the day, as they say, and Tom Snyder always said to me, Cal, we're having the best of it. Appreciate it now. And he foresaw the way things were going to change, and they have. But every day was a struggle. We got in about, at least I did the early news, the 5, 6, and 11, and the 4, 6, and 11, rather. And we'd get in there about 10 o'clock, and we'd kind of noodle around and effort stories is what we called it. We'd look for stories to cover. They would assign us stories, and between the two, we would get out there and shoot our stories. And then, when I got in, we were on film. There was no tape.
Right.
And there were no mini cams. We had to go out, shoot a story, bring it back in, and put the film in the juice for an hour and a half, let it develop, while we wrote, and it was an all-day thing. Now, they're out there, and it's amazing, and it's wonderful. It's progress. It's a technological wonder, They're out there with mini cams, and they can beam right back to the station. So
Sure.
It's all progress. It all had to change, and it has changed. But back then, it was a lot of work.
Well, was there any one or two things that you covered that was difficult emotionally? I watching the news sometimes with all the terrible stuff that goes on. There are situations, many situations that I, as a viewer, just say, "Oh my gosh, that's tough to handle," and wonder how the reporter, the journalist, handles it. Now, you must have had some situations during that period that might have created that sort of response in you. Can you think of any of them?
The very first story I was handed to cover, and this was on radio, and I was a writer. That was at KABC Radio.
Uh-huh.
And it was a story about a 4-year-old girl who had been raped and murdered by her own uncle. She thought she was in safe hands. I had a 4-year-old daughter at that time.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. I was just, the thought of what this poor little child went through, and, hinging it to my own daughter, my own sweet, darling girl, I couldn't do it.
Sure.
And I didn't do it, and therefore I missed deadline. And that was my very first story.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that if that happened again, the first time they can understand if it happened again, I wouldn't be working there. So you harden up very fast.
You got to steel yourself, don't you?
You have to. You cannot take these things to heart after some point. And then you're in a newsroom. When I moved over to television, there are 250 people, 250 bodies in our newsroom, sweaty bodies, screaming and yelling, and
Right.
Getting it out first and getting it out right and getting it out on deadline. And you hear in the newsroom, AP says 4 bodies. What have you got? Well, we've got 5, another possible, and it's screaming. Everybody's screaming. And, by the way, cursing.
Yeah.
So you get very hardened to the whole situation. You steel yourself, and you cultivate your own garden, as Voltaire said.
Sure,
you just
sure.
tunnel vision into your own assignment, and you just get it done.
Well, on the other end of the spectrum, did anything funny ever happen to you that caused you to just kind of break down and burst out laughing, or
Funny?
strange?
Oh, please, it was all funny. I did a show with Tom Snyder called Sunday. We did it every Sunday. It was a 90-minute live show every Sunday, and we hauled out the big NBC crash truck, because this was before mini cams and camera instant taping on the spot. And so that we had to lay, well, not me, but they had to go there the night before and lay miles and miles of cable where we were. And wherever we were was anywhere in our coverage area, which was Santa Barbara down to the Mexican border. And everything happened on that show because it was live. You couldn't redo it.
The fun days of live television, I think sometimes people miss.
Would be Tom Snyder and I would be on the set, and dogs would come up on the set and pee, and all of it went on.
I hope not on your leg.
No, but anything could happen. Fires broke out. Crowds would gather around because we were a novelty back in that day.
Sure. So anything could and did happen in those
on that
days.
Show. It was a great show.
Yeah. TV Guide reported you were the first local newscaster to be paid $1 million per year, but now I know people don't like to talk about their money. But was that a true statement?
No, Jacqueline. Let's see. Do I owe money to the IRS? I don't think we better go there. I don't know.
I gotcha. Well, of course, I would expect that kind of an answer, and that's the truthful answer. But it's an interesting thought, and I hope it was all true.
As I said, Jacqueline, we worked hard, but they were very good to us.
Good. Well, that's
NBC,
good.
The old peacock, was very, very good to all of us.
Well, that's great to hear that. I want to mention again for those of you just tuning in, or you're now at home listening on the website, kptr1450.com, that Kelly is going to be a guest speaker next Saturday at the Palm Springs Women in Film and Television Luncheon. That's Saturday, of course, the 16th at 11 o'clock. It's at the Renaissance Hotel in Palm Springs over on Tahquitz Canyon, just west of Tahquitz and Caballeros. It starts at 11. Members are $35, non-members $50. Now, reservations are required, so call the office at 760-238-0306. And you're going to get some inside stories from Kelly that you may not have heard before. It's going to be a lot of fun. Kelly, let's talk a little bit now about your novels, because certainly you became a very successful novelist. I think the first question that I would ask, is it true that you actually started writing to relieve your insomnia?
Oh, absolutely. We would get home from the 11 o'clock news after working all day, and then would finish the 11 at 11:35. Then Jay Leno would come on, and then we would archive the show and have the meeting to talk about what went wrong with the show. And, of course, the meeting was always longer than the show. And then, pass out assignments for the next day, and then everybody would kind of maybe have a glass of wine or something to kind of cool down after a lot. By the time we got home, it was 2:30, 2:30 in the morning, and who can sleep?
Right.
You're wired, you just got home from work, you're wired, and at 2:30 in the morning, there's nobody there to play with or talk to. And so what I would do is read. I love reading, and I love mysteries. I love mysteries because they're the opposite of news. They are just the fun, fictional, made-up stories as opposed to the dismal underbelly of greater Los Angeles that we reported on every night. So I would read mysteries, all my favorite mystery writers. And at one point, because it was getting later and later, and I would be reading until the book fell from my hands and the light was coming in the window, I said, I decided, I've read so many of these mysteries, and I majored English literature. I can write one of these. And so I just started one night and typed on the paper, and that's how it started.
And that was the first time you actually started writing? You hadn't, of course,
your
interviews, of course.
Yeah, I wrote all of my career.
Sure.
We wrote what we said. We wrote what we reported on. But this is the first time I'd started writing fiction.
Fiction, right.
And I got one finished, and because in the beginning they will not take your treatment because they don't know if you're a good writer. Anybody can start a novel is what they feel. Anyone can start in a blaze of glory. Can they tie everything together and point all the clues and arrows in the right direction without giving it away and bring it home in a big bombful finish? That's what they needed to see. And so when I got it finished, I found myself an agent. That's another story. And got it to Simon & Schuster, who bought it, and that was the way it was. And by the way, you might think, well, because she was a television news anchor woman in law, that does not help you at all in the canyons of New York publishing. Mm-hmm. All they care about is, do they have a product to sell? Do they have a book that people will buy?
Sure, but it does seem to didn't it create a little entree for you? I mean, you had a background. They first of all, they knew that you could put two words together because you've done it. You were a known entity, and so don't you think that helped in some way to at least get them to take a look at it? Sure.
A little bit of an entree. In other words, you could get in the door and take the meeting.
Right.
But beyond that, you have to
prove yourself.
Show them your stuff. That's right.
Sure. Yeah. Now, your first book, am I correct? Your first book was Trophy Wife?
That's right.
And that was published in June of 1996.
Why
don't you tell us a little bit about the story of Trophy Wife?
Well, Trophy Wife, I said it in the Garment District in Los Angeles, down around 9th and Main. My trophy wife, Devin, worked in the Garment District downtown, and it was set right after the 92 riots. And she lived in Beverly Hills, and it was a contrast between the kind of life among the workers in the district and her life at home. And she was really kind of a pain in the neck in the beginning, but she learned a lot in the book. And, of course, all of my books have a dead body by about page 4. That's what they insist on, you know.
Yeah, yes. I think that's a kick, but I guess that's true. If it's going to be a mystery or murder mystery, you better get that body in there pretty fast. Now,
Yes.
was that character based on anyone that you knew? Or?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you would ask that, Jacqueline, because, yes, when I first got to Los Angeles, I went to Merrimack College in Massachusetts and came out to L.A. because the Beach Boys were singing then that this is where everybody was, you know, California girls were having all the fun, and they were right. I came to California, and the first thing I did was work in the garment district as a model, a showroom and fitting model. So I learned what we do. We have in Los Angeles the second largest garment industry after 7th Avenue in New York, in the country. So, yes, it was a natural for me to set it there. And people said, why didn't you set it in the newsroom? I didn't until my third book. I guess I wanted to kind of get away from the newsroom and show that I knew something else, you know. And then by the third book, by The Reporter, they were set in the newsroom. That's because the first one was set in the garment industry, as I said. The second one, called Gossip, was set in the art world. And the third one, I finally set it in the newsroom. And my editor in New York said, you know, you seem to know a lot about what happens in a newsroom in television news. I said, yeah, they don't know.
I wonder why.
They're in New York. They're in New York. So she said, I love this. Let's put them all in the newsroom from now on. So that's what we do. And by the way, I'm going to have them at Women in Film, the luncheon next Saturday. And they will be 1/3 off.
Well, that's great.
Prices.
And you'll be signing.
I want everybody. That's right. I'll be signing them, and I want everybody to remember that the holidays are coming.
Right.
And a book is still the best gift, at least for readers like us.
Well, let's get back to the books. Let's talk about that second book, Gossip. Now, that was first published in 1998 and then was re-released, from what I saw, in 2007. What was the gist?
Do your homework, girl.
Well, got to do it. You know that, Kelly.
Well, I'll tell you what I based Gossip on, Jacqueline.
Yeah, what's the gist of it?
The gist of it is 4 women friends, and this was set in the year that the answering machine came on the market.
Oh, what fun.
This is before email. It was the answering machine back then, and it was 4 women. And in my life, there were 4 women that were very important to me, and they were all in different places. It was Dr. Toni Grant. You might know her.
Oh, sure.
She was this radio talk show host. She was in Texas. Olivia Goldsmith, who wrote The First Wives Club and was a friend of mine from the first book, Trophy Wife, she lived in Florida. And my dear friend, Gail Heyman, who lived in New York, still does. She started Giorgio, the boutique and the fragrance.
Very well known.
And then there was me in Los Angeles, and the 4 of us would talk on the answering machines. And we were all such busy career women that we didn't have time to talk to each other. In other words, we'd call. I remember one time I called Toni Grant to leave her a message, and no, she called me to leave a message, and I picked up. I said hello, and Toni said, oh, Kelly, hang up. I haven't got time to talk to you, but I just want to tell you something on the answering machine. So this is how Gossip goes. The 4 women who are friends from college, and it's the year the answering machine came out. And one of their fathers was in with Ansaphone. He was an executive with Ansaphone. Remember that ANSA came in a white box with a big green lettering, and he gave each of them this gift for graduation and said, take it home, plug it in, don't shove it under your bed or in the back of a closet, and stay in touch. Because they were all going to 4 different corners of the country.
So
and that's
now
how they stayed in touch.
This one though was not a mystery, or it was
yes,
a mystery
they're all
because I
mysteries.
didn't read that
Yes,
one.
They stayed in touch through the answering machines, and when one of their husbands gets murdered, that's when the intrigue starts, and they're all over the place and saying, "Grab the tape, let's get out of here." You know, this kind of thing. That was fun too, and that's the one I recommend for people for women friends. You want to give a gift to a woman friend, and they are so important, as you and I know. sign it. We'll sign it to your friend because it's a book about best friends and how they stick together through thick and through, God knows, thin when it comes to murder.
Well, and it's fun to think about the fact that the answering machine was the first unique thing. I saw a little film the other night about the younger dating crowd called "He's Just Not Into You." And the one of the gal characters was commiserating about the fact that it used to be so much easier when all you had to do was to find out whether he got the message on the answering machine. Now you got to check the cell phone. Now you got to check the iPod. She went through this whole litany of about 8 different things that had to be checked. So I really laughed about that. Well, let's go on now to the next one. Now, first of all, I want to ask you, Gossip was re-released in 2007. How did that come to be?
Oh, I don't know the whole business. I've been a terrible businesswoman all my life. I'm just a creative who knows how to talk when the red light goes on. So I don't really know. But they did re-release it. They put it out again. It was just another business deal. Well, I think
that says something, though, about the book. Because that doesn't happen all the time. And so that was terrific that it was re-released. Okay, so then this was followed with a series featuring Detective Maxie Poole, a sexy blonde investigative reporter. And this first one came out in 2003 with the reporter, then Dead File in 2004 and Graveyard Shift. Now, this series seemed to be your most popular with critics and readers. And the suggestion was made that the character that was murdered in the reporter was based on Jack Nicholson, which included a description of the artwork in his home. Now I want to ask you: you were once married. You were once married to director William Friedkin.
Oh no, we're going to go there. Oh,
no, I'm just going to say. At the time of the publications. Did these apparent portrayals cause any problems for you or your ex-husband, or were they just considered good fun and everybody had fun figuring out, yeah, that's Jack?
My ex-husband, and we're talking about William Friedkin, who directed The Exorcist and The French Connection. He's a terrific guy, and he's just a terrific guy. He knows storytelling. Let me just let it go with that.
Sure, but obviously... Here again, you were certainly very involved in the Hollywood scene, so you were an insider. You were able to go to somebody's house like Jack Nicholson and see the artwork and maybe thinly disguise it in a book. But they say write about what you know, and so you knew a lot about inside Hollywood.
And you have to remember that it's all fiction. It's all made up.
Of course, it's all fiction.
Of course, it's all made up. Of course, but I will say that Simon & Schuster and Warner Books, both of my publishers, were very strict about getting everything vetted and having releases signed off.
Well,
there's one.
Yes.
Very few people that I called them by their own names, like Wendy Harris. She is my Wendy Harris. She was my producer for a long, long time, and she's really Maxie Poole's cohort. She's a person I know would never sue me, so we call her Wendy Harris.
Well, listen, we are out of time already. Kelly, I can't believe it, but I want to tell people again that you're going to be at Palm Springs Women in Film next Saturday, the 16th. Call 760-238-0306 for reservations. I look forward to seeing you. Thanks so much for being here, Kelly. It was just great.
My pleasure entirely. Thanks, Jacqueline.
Okay, bye-bye now.